So then, in that same vein of vibration and frequency, what would one do if they're immersed in a vibration?
Because it's surrounding them and they're observing it.
Right, or they have to be in it.
Well, nobody has to be in it.
Yeah, I know.
But they feel like they do, so they are.
Right,
All
right. And it does not feel good. That vibration does not feel good.
Yeah.
And the path of least resistance, i.e. to walk away, is also not a possibility. Then what would one do? So I'm really looking for ways to kind of...
do your best to relax. Realize that the more general you become, the less tied to it you will be. But sometimes you just have to let it play out its course. Get some sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, the momentum will have subsided enough that you will have an option. But someone who doesn't take that option every morning when they wake up may often find themselves believing that they are in a place where they have no choice. Often you cannot control the condition that has your attention, but you always have the ability to control your response to the condition.
But it's looking at you all the time, or you're looking at it all the time.
Well, if it's looking at you, don't look back. And we know that sounds simplistic, but that really is what it's about. Jesus said, turn the other cheek, and that's exactly what he was talking about. Don't let it suck you in.
So step back as often as you can.
Become as more general as you, and in time, your vibration about it will have shifted enough that it will become less and less of a player in your point of attraction. And you know that, don't you? Aren't there things that you can fleetingly, it's a good way to do it, fleetingly recall that used to sort of dog you that now don't?
Yeah.
Don't you know that it's better and better and better and better and better for you as you become more and more aware of what you're feeling and deliberate about where you're pointing your thoughts? Sometimes people say, just try to speak more positively, or only do things that feel good. Our friend just now was talking about doing the things that feel good. And while taking action sometimes is difficult if there's a lot of momentum, everything that you do with the intention of feeling better serves you. And so it's like reaching for the thought that feels better. But if it's a strong, uncomfortable feeling and thought, it's better to change the subject if you can. And so sometimes you say, but law of attraction won't let me change the subject. Yes, it will, because you are the one who gives the fuel to law of attraction. So the most accurate thing you could say is, I've been feeding law of attraction on this point for so long that it feels like it has me by the hair. And then we say, well, don't do that. And then you say, well, I can't let go of this thought. I'm consumed with it. Then we say, then take a nap. Well, I can't sleep. My mind won't stop. Well, then take a walk. Well, when I walk, I still keep thinking about it. Well, then put your feet in something really hot or something really cold. That will distract you for a minute. Hit your thumb with a hammer. That'll take your attention away from it. You know. Jerry used to say, if he had a feeling of discomfort in his body, sometimes when he was really young, he would bite his finger, because he wanted to know if the bite felt worse than whatever was bothering him, he knew it wasn't that bad. And Esther said, you are too weird for me.
And she still married him.
They were equally weird. Okay. But you get the point.
Yes.
Anything that causes you to distract.
So quickly, yesterday I heard something, not through here, but in another session, where you said to someone who was sitting in the hot seat, you said, be the lover that you are and forget everything else. Now my question is, when you're so involved in something and it's really hard to be a lover,
then that statement doesn't mean much to you.
Not at this point.
So this is a good point to have this important conversation. So we know you understand the idea of transmitting and broadcasting signals. And we know that you really understand law of attraction and how those signals match up. And we know that you really understand what we've been calling the receptive mode, that you want to be in the vibrational point that your vortex is, so that you can get it out of the vortex into meaningful manifestation. Now we want to say that no matter what, if you are conscious and awake, you are in a receiving mode of some type. And you can tell by the way you feel what you're in the receiving mode of. If you feel vulnerable, that's what you're in the receiving mode of. If you feel overwhelmed, that's what you're in the receiving mode of. So your inner being always knows where you are in relationship to all that you want. So your inner being is over here, in essence, calling you to what you want, but you're hearing it through the ear lens of where you are. So your inner being's calling you from this vantage point, but if you're here, you're still hearing it, but you've got filters that are keeping you from really hearing it the way your inner being means it and knows it. And so that's why sometimes you have a rougher ride than you really need to, because you haven't tended to the thing that matters most. That's why we say, get happy and then do anything and everything you can. Be nicer to yourselves. Take more time off. Esther's decided, and you all will find out, she's going to close the office in San Antonio on Monday. She wants her staff to have a 3-day weekend. And she says, we'll keep everything the same way that it is. You're just going to have 3 days off and then 4 days on. They don't know yet, don't tell them. And the reason is because we have helped her to know that nothing is more important than that I feel good. So she knows that anything that she can do that is conducive to someone feeling freer will cause them to feel happier, and anything that causes them to feel happier improves their point of attraction, and anything that improves their point of attraction helps them live happier ever after.
Right. So if most
and so we wish that for all of you. We wish for you that you would be nicer to yourselves. Take time to do things. Be nicer to yourselves. Eat the things that feel good. Lay in the grass if it feels good. Bask in the sun if it feels good. Get in the water if it feels good. Listen to the music if it feels good. Do the things that feel good. Tune yourself. Tune yourself to the receiving mode. Nothing else matters. Tune yourself to the receiving mode. Nothing else matters. Tune yourself to the receiving mode. Nothing else matters. Tune yourself to the receiving mode. You can do it. You can do it. And in time, you'll stop complaining, you'll stop worrying, you'll start basking, you'll have more fun, you'll stop sweating the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. And evidence of this improvement in your happy quotient will be obvious to you. And other people will say, what are you doing? You seem so happy. And you say, yeah, I got happy. What? No, I said, you're happy. I want to know why. Because I want to be happy. Yeah, but what condition has caused you to be happy? Now, there's a case to be made that Esther is creating a condition to which her employees will have a happy response. Yeah. But there was a lot in the vortex that they all put there that caused Esther to get into the receiving mode to hear that. Esther's a cooperative component to their desires. She's not feathering their nest. She's cooperating with the vortex that they have created and doing it joyously.
So my first request was going to be, I need a good shake, vibrational and physical shake, because I feel numb. So can we all get like this big boost of energy from you?
No point in that. That's really conditional. Come on.
That's conditional. Okay.
This is one of the best conversations that we've ever had with anyone about vibration, right, about momentum, about alignment, about focus. Don't you feel refreshed from this conversation?
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Really
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, Abraham. Thank you so much for choosing me. I've done this work with you over 20 years, and it's made such an incredible life for me. I've just manifested.
Sometimes you say that. A lot of you have been around for a while, and you do the work because there's a lot broken, or you do the work because it feels good to keep tuning. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never ever wanted to be in the hot seat till today. Never. What's going on with me is everything you're kind of talking about today, and I still can't make that kink, that shift. My life here in America has been amazing with the work I've learned from you in every area. And I've come to a point where I'm moving to a different country shortly, and I am so excited about it, and everything is fabulous and creating and wonderful. But there's all that joy, and then there's the little doubt that goes, ooh, it's gone really good here.
We talked about that just a little bit ago.
But I can't move the shift.
Yes, you can. Here's the thing. If your response is based upon known quotients, known quantities, known aspects, then life isn't going to surprise and delight you in the way that you really want. But when you understand the basis of life, when you know what you know, things always work out for you, that things are always working out for you, then it feels like adventure rather than unknown. We used to tell the story as Jerry and Esther were flying, now Esther is again. For 10 years they drove their big buses around from place to place. But whether they were flying or driving the bus, one of the things that Esther realized is that she tried diligently to work as many kinks out of their travel plans as she could before they started on their journey. So it was like when they were in the monster bus, it was a 45-foot Prevost bus, which was tall, 13 feet 6 inches tall, and some of the overpasses are only an inch taller than that. So check the trucker's guide and make sure we're not too tall for that, and check the toll booths and make sure we're not too wide, and check the bridge limits and make sure we're not too heavy. There was that sense of almost trepidation because they were moving big things through time and space. And after a while, Esther began to relax and realize that they could always figure it out, that she didn't need to plan everything that was out there that was impossible to plan. Because why try to figure it out before you're standing in that powerful place where the juncture of you meets you and all of the cooperative components of the universe are there assisting you? It would be like using a fraction of your ability to make a decision instead of using the whole of yourself to make the decision. So the way you soothe yourself is by reminding yourself every day, I've been figuring this out for a long time, and that's the zest of life that I really enjoy. And I'm flexible, and I like thinking on my feet. And that's one of the things I most like. We watch you. You talk like you want security, but the first chance you get, you go on an unknown adventure. You talk like you want comfort and ease and all of those things around you. And then you go on a 5-day backpacking hike to the top of the Himalayas. In other words, you're inconsistent. And so if you will just recognize, hey, I like adventure. I like adventure with no risk, which means I like aligned adventure. And there isn't enough deciding in the world. You can't get a concierge who is effective enough or efficient enough. Oh, you'll get one, but if you're worried about it the day of your trip, that one will get sick and they'll give you somebody that's never been on this trip before. And so your security, that sense of well-being, is something that you encourage vibrationally. And then and only then are you free. Because if you're looking for security, you can't go anywhere. You're guarded. Got to make sure that everything's just right, everything just the way it needs to be before I go out there. Oh, how much better it is to know that you've got this vibrational thing going on, and the universe has already orchestrated everything, and the cooperative components are all lined up for you, and you're going to meet up with things that please you when you meet with them. New is so delicious. And that idea, when it came, it was a really good idea, and it had the potential of thrilling you the whole way out. And every time you think about it, mostly you feel that way. It's only when you're in this receiving mode that you second guess yourself. You know what buyer's remorse is? Buyer's remorse is you're bipping along, you're living happily ever after, you get in the receiving mode, and your vortex yields to you a really good idea about something. And then you buy it, or do it, or marry it. And then you let your vibration shift. And now it looks different from down here than it looked when you were up here. That's what buyer's remorse is your vibrational fluctuation. Mm-hmm. That was really good.
That's exactly what happened. I created in my life here that I didn't have any risk or had all security, nothing. I'm like the perfect baby in the...
There's no risk out there. There's only your point of attraction. That's why there are people that thrive under all conditions, and there are people that suffer. There are people that thrive in what the world would call the worst conditions, and there are people who suffer in what the world would call the best conditions. And it's because it hasn't got anything to do with what's out there. It's got everything to do with what's going on with you vibrationally. And your point of attraction is, this is a really good nugget for you to recall, your point of attraction is always based upon what you're broadcasting. So the things you broadcast, the things you say about yourself and others and situations, circumstances, and events, what you say is what sets your tone. So what you're saying and what you're feeling and what you're meaning, the universe